Chapter 5, the standard deviation as a ruler and the normal model. So this is a very important chapter. We're going to use the standard deviation and normal model throughout the year. It's really important that we learn this information really well, study it a lot, and have it down cold. The better you are at this now, the easier this course is going to be for the next several months. So let's start with example 1. Suppose a class took a 40-point quiz. Results show a mean score of 30, median of 32, IQR of 8, standard deviation of 6, minimum of 12, Q1 27. Suppose you earned a 35. What happens to each statistic if I decide to weight the quiz as 50 points and will add 10 points to every score? So your score is now 45. So let's write out this information that we have. We're looking with the mean, x bar, the median, the IQR, the standard deviation, the minimum, and Q1. That's the information we're given. Those are the only things we can really work with here. Okay, now the important thing to remember when we're adding, this is shifting. So I'm moving all the information to the left or to the right. That's all we're doing. Shifting left or right. So if you think about it, I can shift certain things, but not everything. I can shift my mean. If I take 10 points off, subtract by 10, then my mean becomes 10 points less. I can do that same thing with my median. If the median is a position, it's a median score of 35. If I subtract 10 from all the scores, the median will move to 20. However, IQR, standard deviation, those are measures of spread. Now, if I shift every single point by the same amount, if I shift my median, my minimum, my Q1, my Q3, my maximum, all of those, if I shift all of them by taking 10 away, does the distance between the Q3 and Q1 change? Remember, I'm shifting them all by the same amount, so they will not change. The measure of spread does not change. The same thing for standard deviation. All my data points are shifting by the same amount, so the variation stays the same. You can shift measures of position, but measures of spread do not shift. They will remain the same. So I decide to weight the test. This 40-point test is 50 points. I will add 10 to every score. Our mean was 30. I'm adding 10 points to that. So my new score is 40 points. Okay, the median was 32. I'm going to add 10 points to the median. And now our median score is 42 points. Okay, IQR, it was 8. It's still 8. It's a measure of spread. It does not change when we shift. Same thing for standard deviation. The spread does not change because all the values are being shifted by the same amount. My minimum was 12. I'm adding 10. So it is now 22 points. And finally, Q1. The first quartile was 27. I'm still shifting everything by 10. And so I have a score of 27 points as my Q1. Okay, that's simple. When we're shifting, just add or subtract. You can shift with negatives as well. Okay, so decide to weight the quiz is 40 points, doubling each score. Your score is now 70 because you had a 35. So now I'm stretching it, kind of. I'm multiplying everything. So if my Q1 is 10 and my Q3 is 20, I would have an IQR of 10. However, if I'm stretching, I'm doubling, 2 times 10 is 20, so my Q1 is now 20. 20 times 2 is 40, so my Q3 is now 40, which means the IQR doubled. It went from 40 to 20, so now it's 20. So when we multiply, when we stretch it out or scale it, a lot of times we call that the scalar, then everything changes, not just my position, but also my measures of spread. So here, I'm going to multiply the mean by 2. That's going to double as well. So my new mean is 60 points. My median is doubled, so I get 64 points. My IQR is also doubled because the spread does double when we are multiplying. Same for if we were dividing. If we were multiplying by 1/2, basically that's dividing by 2, so we would follow that operation. So my IQR becomes 16 points. Standard deviation becomes 12. Minimum and Q1 are both multiplied by 2. And there we go. Okay, so let's look at the last part of this example. I decided to count the quiz as 100 points. Easier to grade that way. I'll double each score and add 20 points. Your score is now 90 because I'm going to double first, so that 35 became a 70, and then I'm going to add 20 points. Now remember, we're just doing some basic algebra, so order of operations does matter. We're doubling first. Okay, so I'm going to double the mean. And then I'm going to add 20 points. So we get a score of 80. So this curve brings that median score of 30, which would really be a 60 out of 100, up to 80 points out of 100. For the median, I'm going to multiply by 2, add by 20, and we get 84. Okay, IQR. I'm going to multiply by 2, add 20, and we get 36. But wait, I just discussed this very, very strongly. No, you do not add to the IQR. Even though we're doing both operations here, we only ever multiply measures of spread. You will never shift, add, or subtract from them. Common mistake is where we make a lot of mistakes. But no, never ever do that. All we're going to do is multiply. The shift has no impact on measures of spread, which are IQR, standard deviation, and the range. So this is just 16, just like it was above. Just like when we doubled it, we get the same thing. Do not shift IQR or standard deviation. Okay, standard deviation, I'm just multiplying. I'm not going to add that 10 to it. So the standard deviation is still 12 points, just like it was on the previous example, previous part. Minimum, I'm going to multiply by 2, but this is a measure of position. The minimum is a position for the data point, so we're also going to add 20. And for the Q1, I'm going to multiply by 2 and add 20. So our minimum becomes 2 times 12, which is 24 plus 20, 44 points. And our Q1, 27 times 2, 54 plus 20, 77 points. And there we go. That is how we shift and scale summaries.